Hi, this is how to make stuff with Tim. What I need to do is, I've had several requests on how to make sourdough, and I've filmed some later steps, so I'm gonna film the very first step, which is to assemble the loaf. What I've got here is, sourdough is a very simple thing to make. It actually just has flour, water, starter, salt, and that's it. I'm gonna add some flavors to it, but you don't have to add the flavors to it. So what I'm gonna do is start off with a bowl that's sitting on a scale, and I've got it zeroed out. So what I'm going to do is use it's called the baker's proportions. So it would be, if you do 1,000 milligrams of flour, a 75% hydration would be 750 milligrams of water, and you'd use 1.8% salt, and let's see, 40 milligrams, so it would be wind up being about 80 milligrams of starter, about a third cup. So what we're going to do is start with the water. Use tepid water, and because I'm using those proportions, I'm actually going to do a half loaf. So I'm using 350 milligrams of water. As you can see, right on the scale, 350, nailed it. And then I add starter. I've already done a lesson on starter, so I'm not gonna repeat it at this point in time. You will see, when I fed the starter this morning, it was down here, and now the level is all the way up here. This is at peak, and this is what you want. If your starter is at or close to peak, that is what's gonna guarantee a very, very good loaf. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab a bunch of the starter and dump it in here, and 350 plus about 80 is about 350 plus 80, yeah.
430.
430, I got 448 in here, so I got a little bit fat on the starter, that's okay. Notice what's happening is the starter is actually floating. That's a good thing. So what you want is the starter actually floating in the water, okay? I'm also going to zero the scale out now and put in 9 milligrams of salt. It says 11, that's close enough. All right, as you can tell, my measurements are very precise. Now then, I will also, this will be 350, so this will be 500 milligrams of flour. What I've done is I'm making a rustic loaf, which is 250 milligrams of white bread flour, unbleached. 125 milligrams of all-purpose flour and 125 milligrams of wheat flour. I'm gonna add this to the mix. And because I want to add a little flavor to this, I'm gonna add some garlic. That's about a tablespoon of garlic, yum. And some freshly chopped rosemary. If you want to get really spicy, you can add some Parmesan to that. And I'll just grab some Parmesan and throw it in there. All right, this is the basic assembly of a sourdough loaf. I'm gonna get my mixer out. This little tool right here stimulates hand mixing. You can mix this up with your hands, or you can use this guy to kind of get it started anyway. All it does is you stir all the stuff together. Now it's important to mix this stuff thoroughly because you've got to mix the water with the flour, with the starter, and mix it all up together. Whenever you're finished mixing this together, it should be rough and shaggy. What do I mean by that? Well, it's gonna be really sticky on your hands. It's not gonna be real smooth, and it'll not look real pretty. So once I get started with that guy, you can feel this kind of coming together. Put it back in the bowl and grab all the extra flour off the edges. Put it together. Grab the flour that dropped out, dough rather. And then And that's what I mean by rough and shaggy. Not real pretty. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cover this with either a wet cloth or just some saran wrap and let it sit for 30 minutes. And in 30 minutes, I'm gonna come back and do its first stretch and fold. And that's how you get a sourdough loaf started. Thank you. Hi, I'm Tim, and this is my kitchen. So, next step, 30 minutes have elapsed. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna remove the aforementioned saran wrap, and I'm going to stretch and fold this sourdough loaf. See how it still looks kind of gross and lumpy? This is called the stretch and fold, and all I'm doing is stretching and folding. Sounds obvious. Here we go. So you just lift up the corner of it and bring it over and tuck it in. You should do this multiple times. As you rotate the bowl around, you're introducing air into the loaf and you're building gluten, which I know is a dirty word these days, but that's what you do if you want a good loaf. Then I pull it all out, put it back in there, and cover it up, let it set for 30 minutes. Repeat this process about 2 or 3 more times. I've done it as few as just 1 time and had a successful loaf, but the more you do it, the more gluten you build, the better the shape your loaf is gonna be. So do about 3 or 4 times, and then you'll set it aside for its bulk rise, which you want to let it rise until it basically doubles, almost doubles in size. And that can take as little as 6 hours or as many as 12 hours. And if you want to delay the process, you can stick it in the fridge and bring it out the next day and let it rise throughout the day, or you can let it rise overnight on the counter. And then what you'll do is tip it out on the counter on a oiled board and do the next step, which I've got a video for that coming up next. Thank you.